Is Trump serious about trying to restore relations with Russia? Or are we just suckering them along to entice them to drop their guard so we can then sucker punch them? Because what concrete steps has the United States taken to ease tensions with Russia? Restore the property the United States took from them? No, haven't done that. Drop the travel restrictions? No, haven't done that. Reopen consulates? No, we haven't done that. Appoint a new ambassador? No, we haven't done that. Send more weapons to Ukraine? We've done that.
We've done that. Yeah. So we finally got to block the check there. That'll bring peace. But speaking of peace, so what is on the ground is about ready to happen in Istanbul tomorrow. There's supposed to be the third direct face-to-face meet between the Ukrainians and the Russians. So it's like, great. Trump gets some credit because at least he's talking to people and trying to bring folks together and encouraging the two sides to talk, which was completely opposite on the Biden side. Never, he ran from that kind of thing. But okay, but let's take a look at what's going on. So heading into that, we have Dmitry Peskov, who says, okay, important to talk, but we need to have some things in mind that this is going to be a lengthy process.
Ну, разумеется, все-таки президент Трамп – это президент крупнейшей страны мира, крупнейшей экономики мира. И плюс, уже все привыкли, так сказать, к его достаточно жесткой и прямолинейной риторике. Вместе с тем он подтверждает свои намерения дальше делать все возможное для того, чтобы способствовать мирному регулированию. Собственно, президент Путин неоднократно говорил о своем желании как можно быстрее перевести украинское регулирование в мирное русло. Это длительный процесс, он требует усилий, он непрост. И, скорее всего, в Вашингтоне все больше и больше это понимают.
Okay, first of all, I got to ask, why is he walking? It's really distracting to me that they were walking down as they were talking. I just wanted to look at him, but I digressed here a little bit. But he says, yeah, it's good that we're talking. It's good that Trump is having the conversation, but everybody knows this needs to be a very lengthy process. It's not something a war is not something a 3.5-year war at that is not something you get over with very quick. But as Doug McGregor said on our channel earlier today, it's like the American side is looking for a microwave option where he just goes in, picks up the phone, talks to somebody, and the problem's solved. Trump doesn't seem to be very interested in doing processes.
Yeah, well, Russia's been very clear. We've gone through, we're on a third stage now. First stage was in April of 2022, where in the talks in Istanbul, they had actually they had an agreement in principle. And it was what Lavrov told Judge Napolitano and Mario and me when we met with him 1st of March, was that proposal had actually come from the Ukrainians, and the Russians were willing to sign off on it. And it would have left Donetsk and Luhansk as part of Ukraine, but it would have guaranteed the rights of the citizens of those two republics, or oblasts at the time, to preserve their freedom, the right to speak Russian, and other things. Well, the United States sabotaged that.
And I'm sorry, by the way, do I understand correctly that also the framework included, once it got to a certain point, that all the Russian forces would withdraw out of the territory?
Yeah. So Russia was willing to do that. Hey, just the primary goal was that Ukraine said, okay, we're going to withdraw. We're not going to have anything more to do with NATO. We'll make sure NATO troops are out. We'll be strictly neutral. And that's all Russia wanted. Well, so that went away, and now Russia had to shift to a military strategy instead. And so Putin laid out the next demands. They had the elections in Zaporizhzhia, in Kherson, as well as Donetsk and Luhansk. They all chose to return to Russia and become part of the Russia Federation. So they're federal republics now of Russia. And in June of 2014, 2024, it was June 14th, 2024, Putin met with the foreign ministry senior officials, and he laid out, okay, this is what it's going to be going forward. Those four, Zaporizhzhia, Kherson, Donetsk, Luhansk, they're going to stay with us. They're not going anywhere. They are permanently part of Russia, as is Crimea. We want the West to recognize that territory. Ukraine needs to reduce its army and end all NATO participation in NATO exercises, foreign military support. It has to become more of a defensive force. And some other items. That was in June. That was the essence when they met 3-4 weeks ago in Istanbul. That was the essence of what Russia presented in that paper, laying that out. And the Ukrainians go, oh, no, we can't accept that. Well, because then Russia told them
that's what Gary had on the screen a minute ago, that 12-point plan. That's the one from Istanbul a few weeks back.
Correct.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but this one was a lot worse for Ukraine than the June 2024 options.
Yeah, it toughened it up a little bit. And then implicit in this, and this is where I was going to what we're into the third phase, that Putin has said, wherever Russians set foot on the territory, that's going to stay Russian. So they're now in Sumy.
Yeah. I was about to say 3 more.
They're in Dnipropetrovsk. So there's 3 more are going to be on the table, and in Odessa too. So the conversation on tomorrow is going to surround that 12-point plan, and then Russia's going to reiterate, since we last met, let us identify all the different territory we're taking. I mean, they're on the verge of taking Pokrovsk right now.
Yeah.
And once they break through at Pokrovsk, that's going to be a significant breakthrough point in the defensive line. And they can open up more territory. And I'm sure the message to the Russians is, we'll stop now where we are. We're not giving back Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, or Zaporizhzhia. We're keeping that. We're keeping Crimea. That's never returning to you. But we may be willing to let you have back Dnipropetrovsk, Sumy, and Kharkiv, provided you kick NATO the hell out. They leave. You get rid of the CIA. They've got to get out. And you become a neutral state. Now, Ukraine's not going to do that. At least Zelensky's not. And the corrupt crew around him, they're not going to accept that. So, what's going to happen out of this, I believe, is it will be portrayed, the messaging from the West will be that Russia is intransigent and refuses to negotiate in good faith, and therefore our only option is to take them on militarily.
Okay, well, as it turns out, we don't have to wait till tomorrow for that view from the West, because we had Volodymyr Zelensky very kindly, very detailed lay out what his diplomatic expectations are.
The main task of Ukrainian diplomacy is to promote everything that protects Ukrainian life in Ukraine first and foremost, and everything that hurts Russia for this war. And each of you must be specific in your own results for the sake of our people, for the sake of Ukraine. This is not pathos, it is true. I believe that this is the main goal. The first is weapons. Of course, we will not publicly discuss the details in each area now, but each of you knows what is in your countries, what are the opportunities for cooperation between joint productions. We now have a truly global cooperation, the largest ever built for Ukraine. But this does not mean that we can stop expanding the activity. We should always look for a new format.
So hurt Russia and get more weapons. That's our diplomatic thing heading into Istanbul. So not sure that's going to really do much of anything for anyone.
Yeah, and that's why Russia is saying, look, we're willing to pursue a diplomatic track, but that doesn't mean we're going to commit suicide, because we're going to defeat you, Ukraine, military, not just you, Ukraine, you, NATO, militarily. And all the who was it? I get to steal this. It's like they refer to Germany and France as 2 bald-headed men fighting over a comb.
Okay, hadn't heard that one.
Yeah, it's a great one. But that's really the West. I mean, they talk about, oh yeah, we're going to send let's send 10 Patriot missile batteries. Okay, and just do the math. A missile battery, a Patriot battery, has 4 launchers. Each launcher has 16 tubes. So that means if you got, for each of those launchers, you're going to have 16 missiles. That's 64, if my math is correct. Now, multiply that times 10. That's 640 just in those 10. And that means they fire once and then they're done because they don't have anything to reload. That is the entire production of Patriot missiles for a year. What the hell are these people smoking? I mean, it is so divorced from reality that they can't do. I can add, I can subtract, I can do division and multiplication. That's about my math skill. But it suffices for this to do a basic analysis. The numbers don't add up, particularly when you consider the fact that you fire 2 to 4 Patriots at even a Garand drone coming in to take it down. Oh, the Garand drone, I was corrected. I thought I'd heard it was $50,000. No, my bad. It's $20,000.
Yeah.
Each PAC-3 Patriot missile costs $7 million. So let's say 4 of those, that's $28 million to take down a $20,000 drone. Are you kidding me? This should be a Monty Python skit. It's so bizarre. But yet you've got people like Donahue, and then your Ben Hodges and your David Petraeus and your Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth saying the most imbecilic things and not understanding the basic logistics that undergird all of this.